like this perspective on mistakes is what I'm thinking about, and regret, right? Like I would love to hear from you some places where you've had the ups and downs in your business building adventures, and then we'll talk about the different types of businesses that you have.
Sure. So one thing I can share that started out as a regret, but quickly changed into the best thing that ever happened to me in business was could have, if I had framed it differently in my life, could have been the biggest regret of ever. Um, was I worked for a company. I'm the red carpet connection. I wear red every day of my life, always, always, always. And I had a company that wanted to hire me, and they wanted me to wear black. Now, I'm okay with the fact that they needed me to do that for when I'm taking photography, because I'm also a photographer. And so if I'm doing, a celebrity event, if I'm going to be on stage, okay, that makes sense that I need to pop behind someone. However, most of the things that I'm at, they're fine that I'm in red because I pop on, take a quick picture, and I'm off. I'm gone. So it's not like I'm standing up there for hours or whatever. And yes, I am distracting because I'm in red, but it's like that. So everyone else seems to be very forgiving. Now, had they asked me just to wear black when I'm doing the camera shots and stuff, that would have been fine. But it was the way that they approached me and the way that they were so negative. They wanted me, well, this is their list of things. They said, Andrea, we don't want you to wear red anymore. And we don't want you to sing because I sing. And by the way, I also was allowed to present when I was on stage, and they told me when you present, don't sing. Oh, okay. And they said, and we're this smiling all the time, like knock it off. Uh,
Wow.
okay. So now I'm in black. I'm look depressed. You're too loud. You're too loud. You're too much. You're too much. Tone it down. Tone it down. Okay. So now I'm muted. I'm look depressed. I'm trying to be small and quiet. I'm in black. And they still weren't happy with me. They just always were. And I remember I was in my bed the night that they called and told me all this stuff that they hated about me, and I wrote it all down. I think I still have the piece of paper somewhere. And for a day or two, I literally cried about that, about how I I had to stop being all these things to make these people happy. And then I got to realizing that the people that I was at the event, the people who experienced me prior to me having to take away me, loved me. So I realized there was a disconnect. Like everyone else there loved me except for the organizers. So maybe it's not me. And
Yeah.
so what I regretted at first is that I'm too loud, I'm too much, I'm too red, I'm too smiley, I'm too singing, I'm too happy. Maybe that's not a regret. So instead, what I did is the next time they asked me to work for them, I said, um, I don't think you want me. I actually think that the problem is not me, it's or the qualities of me. I think you are looking for someone different than me. So I am going to respectfully decline because I don't want to be that. And when I did, I had such a relief. And ever since that day, I I literally for the first couple months wrote in the contract, if you think I'm too smiley, too happy, think too loud, or I think and I'm too much, then you're not the client for me.
Yes. This
And
is
then I
really
got over that.
powerful. Right.
Yeah.
It's making me think of an interview I did with someone who was talking about when you can start to say no in business. And then you know you've really made it in business. But then in this case, it's that thing where you go, okay, what's my integrity and how am I going to actually show up in the way that is me? And if someone's asking you to be who you're not, then it's not a good match all the way around. We could think about this in relationship, business, being on stage, whatever it is. And it's hard because that FOMO steps in where you go like fear of missing out. What if I don't get another opportunity like this? But then you had the courageous, will to just go like, no, this isn't who I am. It's funny because what little I know of you, I can't imagine you going on stage in black and not smiling.
Oh, it was so. In fact, the funniest part of that is like I would go up to people and they're like, "Okay, well, how do I find you later?" And I go, "Oh, just look for me. I'm the lady in
Uh-huh.
black."
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's what I was wearing at the time. Now the funny thing is they ended up coming back to me and they needed me to cover an event, and they said, "Well, we just gonna need we need this or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, okay, I'll do it." Because I'm forgiving and loving, and so I'm open minded as well.
Yeah.
And I went and did another event for them. And it was an event in the Bahamas soon after the hurricane. And they wanted it to be a selling event. They wanted to sell products and services. And the first couple people who went and so forth, there was a downness of the event. They
Mm.
came to me about midday break and said, Andrea, we need you to speak. Because they
Mm-hmm.
also told me no speaking. I'm not speaking. And I'm like, fine. I wore black. I was quiet. I did their thing. And I knew that going in. So I agreed for this short thing. And they came to me and said, we need you to speak. And I'm like, okay. Oh, okay. And they're like, did you bring any of your red clothes with you? And I'm like, well, of course I did. I wear red except for when you tell me I have to wear black in this room.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, so I'm allowed to wear red. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and so then I go, well, am I allowed to sing? Yes. Am I allowed
Wow.
to? Oh, the other thing, they told me I wasn't funny. And I said, well, I laugh. And they were like, yeah, that's not funny. So I was like, okay. So then I said, can I be funny? And they're like, sure. And like, can I be too much? And they're like, I'm like, okay, I won't push it. So I came out midday in red, did a 20-minute presentation, got everybody jived and happy and laughing. And we were, I sang. I usually don't sing a whole song. I just sing a snippet, like a million smiles is what we're gonna make, something funny like that. And then I keep talking and the audience just lifted up. Right
Mm-hmm.
after me, they had a guy come on to sell his big program and he sold like 12 packages.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that moment, I realized my power that had I not, because some people say, well, don't you regret working for them again? Absolutely not, because I never would have learned that actually everything they hated about me was exactly what they needed in a depressed economy where people were sad and they felt like they couldn't have hope and they weren't in a buying mood. But the second they were around me, they were open, they felt trustworthy, they were like, okay, these people care about us because I reflected that. And
Yeah.
then because I reflected that, I created that for the entire group. And so the man who went after me was able to sell. Now, could he have sold without me? Probably, because he's a great guy. But did he sell better with more confidence and more excitement because I was there first? Absolutely.
To listen to the full episode, head on over to nfacoaching.com, hit the podcast link, and it'll take you to all of the full episodes. And go ahead and leave some comments. I'd love to hear from you to know how these inspirational interviews, tips, and tools are impacting you in your life and business. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any of the Max Potential Habits episodes.